Good afternoon and welcome to live coverage from the Talladega Superspeedway, where we've got a doubleheader for you here on the KBRN Racing Network, starting here with the LWRC NASCAR Cup Series in round 11, of course from the Talladega Superspeedway in Talladega, Alabama. Happy to have you with us. My name is Kenneth Bueno alongside Charlie Baier as we start to anticipate not just one, but two Talladega races, both with different anticipations, but with all the same exception, and that is wreckage.
Yeah, for sure. This is really one of the big toss-up races that we'll have all season, along with Daytona and some of the road courses just like Sonoma we had last week. So this one is going to be nothing but chaos. We're going to see it 2 times today too, as well. So I'm really excited. I love this racetrack. Love racing on it. Love watching it. And it always puts on a show. So I think we're going to see a lot of good racing out there today.
Yeah, and just like Daytona, this is another large super speedway with its own flair, and it's the first time you really see a super speedway since our season opener at Daytona, so there might be some rust to dust off for the drivers today, especially going into this race. And Charlie, from what we've seen as not only commentators, but as drivers in this type of discipline on the racetrack and being first-hand experience with that, how does this race provide such a different approach than, let's say, Sonoma last week, or even the mile and a halves and the short tracks that we've seen over the past couple of weeks?
Well, yeah, this race, much like another road course, last week at Sonoma, we saw the road course ringer Aiden Kirker rise up and take the win, but this is another track where it's really easy for some of these guys to get up front, lead some laps, get a lot of points, and at the end, maybe even get a win. So, like I said, this is a toss-up race, so it could be really crucial for some of these guys to really get a jump in their points heading towards the closing stages of this season.
And always insanity whenever you approach this racetrack. But when we approached this racetrack, we had to travel back east for our KBRN track map with images, of course, provided by Google Earth. You see the Sonoma Raceway where we were last week, and it goes all the way east and a little bit southeast, if you will, all the way to Talladega, Alabama, where the Talladega Superspeedway rests, where we will be today. Of course, in Talladega, Alabama, 2.66 miles around this huge tri-oval. There is 4 turns, of course, on this oval. And so many races being held here, the NASCAR Cup Series, Xfinity Series, Gander RV and Outdoors Truck Series, and even a fair share of ARCA Menard Series races as well. So NASCAR has had quite the history at Talladega Superspeedway, dawning ever since 1979 with their first race, and lots of experience with this track. This track has seen so many different types of racing, whether you saw with the older NASCAR Cup Series cars, now with this newer package. Is there really something to expect differently with these Cup cars and this package particularly, or maybe something comparable to what we saw at Daytona?
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned the package. This package is wildly different from the package from 2016 or even 2018. These package with that big spoiler and that reducing in horsepower. These things get huge runs, and iRacing in around 2017 with the old package. You were single file, just like real life throughout the entire race, but this high downforce from those big runs that you get, you're able to go side by side, and you're able to stick it 3 wide, all that. You're able to make a lot more crazy moves, and it's really a lot different from a guy who started in 2017 like me to jump in one of these high downforce cars and car racing. It could be a learning curve as well.
Yeah, and really, it's way harder to drive this racetrack, much less as it looks, because when you look at this from afar, you see them going full throttle, all in a pack, turning left, going all the way around, and not really having to, watch out for anything apart from any wrecks that happen. But when you're really behind the wheel of this race car, it is very nerve-wracking, and especially for these drivers, they really have to start maneuvering themselves in the draft, because like you said and like you mentioned, huge runs is something we're going to be seeing here today, particularly with this package. You're going to have drivers from a farther back get those huge draft runs and try to manage that the best way they can. Try to give a little push to the drivers in front of them and do the best to try and at least keep their car sane for the most part in this track that really is opposite of sane. We've got a couple minutes now that have elapsed in this qualifying session. You're looking at a couple of drivers that are now starting to make their way around this racetrack. And you're looking at one of the drivers who's now making one of their first starts. That's Glenn Bundren, the man who's the owner of the series we broadcast, the iRacing Bundren Lawn Care Series, which will be here on the KBRN Racing Network later on tonight. And a couple drivers we're also been looking at that are now into this session. You're see Blaze McKinney, who's back here and currently setting the fastest time. And we haven't seen him much since Homestead and really the races prior when we saw him at ISM and we saw him on Las Vegas as well. So very nice to see him in this field for today's action. Aaron Tribble's back once again as well. We saw him at Texas running a very consistent race, and he was up there with the drivers up there. So he is back here at Talladega. And of course, you have the usuals: Eli O'Quinn, Brady Wheeleman, Richard Mendoza is back here for the action, Aiden Kirker, who was last week's winner at Sonoma. And I want to talk a little bit about Sonoma while we're getting this qualifying underway. It was such a great racetrack and provided such a lots of fun, you know, through the race that we saw last week. And Aiden Kirker, a first win, now with that momentum, how does that really translate into Talladega?
Before I give my thoughts, I just want to give a fair warning that I live in northern Illinois, northeast of Chicago, and I just want to say we are getting really bad thunderstorms in the area right now. So almost 70-mile-an-hour winds. So if I'm currently at risk of my power going out at any moment. So if it does and the stream ends, we'll update you guys in our Discord. Join the KBRN Discord. And we'll give you guys further updates from there. So it could happen at any moment. It'll be rolling through pretty much throughout the entirety of this race. So just a fair warning there. But sorry, Kenneth, what was your question? I got carried away.
No, it's okay. And it was a fair warning. I mean, if this stream ends up going down for everyone watching in the YouTube stream, yeah, if anything happens, if the stream just randomly starts to cut off, or if anything happens that are technical, it is definitely not in our control. It's obviously the weather that's up there in Illinois area, and of course, Charlie, we hope you stay safe there, because I know that's very scary what's been happening over the past couple of hours. But I wanted to ask you about Aiden Kirker, who was our winner last week at Sonoma, and we watched him carry his first race win this season after so many weeks of just following second and staying further back after having pretty consistent races in Texas, much like Bristol and Martinsville. But now that he has that first one and he kind of has that off his back and going into this race, is there anything particularly that might be going into his mindset that might change going into Talladega, knowing that he has that win and he's kind of secured for the rest of the season, or just something else that might be kind of in the cards just to go for it and send it here at Talladega?
Well, I kind of want to tie this into one of our Ask KBRN questions in chat. Reese Cups and Graphics asked the most underrated driver, and I'm going to actually tie this into that question. I think Aiden Kirker it really shows up towards the end of these races, and at Texas he finished second, just short of the winner there, and I think that he's really one of the more consistent drivers throughout these races in the LWRC Cup Series, and really, if he's there tonight, I think he could be able to win. He is a road first stringer, pulled off the win last week at Sonoma. So, to answer that question, the most underrated driver, I'm going to have to go with Aiden Kirker.
And, of course, we're going to be answering those Ask KBRN questions throughout the afternoon, and, of course, later on when we cover the Bunch and Lawn Care series later tonight. And we usually don't really introduce this right here in the qualifying session, but since we have the time, of course, if you want to join the conversation, you can use it using hashtag AskKBRN, ask any question you want with us in the booth. We already have some already, so I think while we get this pre-race coverage underway and while we have qualifying, as you're watching Richard Mendoza get some laps around here and set his time for where he'll start in this race, we already have some in the YouTube chat already, some questions. One by Francisco asks, what are the expectations for today's race and any predictions? I know that you saw your underdog prediction, but is there any sort of expectation you have for Talladega? Is there something you really expect? I know there might be a common answer, but is there anything different on your mind here today?
Nothing but chaos.
Yeah.
I would expect these guys, I hope they run a bit conservatively and kind of save their race cars towards the end of these things, because, watching a super speedway races, it's kind of frustrating to see them all junk it quite early, so I want to see them make it to the end, and it'll be a really good finish if they do that. So I would at least hope they would run conservatively at first and then kind of go all out at the end.
Yeah, 60 laps getting set to run here at Talladega. It's going to be a longer race apart from some of the others that we've seen, and like you said, Charlie, chaos. You can't really go into this race without expecting a large wreck. You can't really kind of have that out of your mindset that a wreck will at least happen or something will happen along those lines. And hopefully, I hope so, that these drivers are able to kind of keep it clean, or kind of able to hold their ground for this race. And I'd love to see some great racing, because I know that this racetrack can provide some wild racing, and if the drivers are able to keep themselves stable, then that will be a lot of fun to watch and kind of cover maybe 3 wide, maybe 4 wide action, or even just the 2 wide with the long lines behind them. That'll be a lot of fun to watch as we approach today's race. And we have another one coming in from LVB, and you kind of mentioned it, the weather coming through the KBRN headquarter metro area, according to LVB, and it says might affect the broadcasting. And yes, like we mentioned, it hopefully will not, but if it does, then
I'm looking out my window right now, and those trees are almost 45 degrees sideways. So, yeah, hopefully it sticks out. I hope so.
Well, hopefully we're able to keep the stream going for you, and hopefully nothing severe happens over there in Illinois. But we have another question by Side Drafting Productions, who's actually a driver in this race, Benjamin White, who already set his qualifying time. He says, what lap will I wreck out? Well, I hope none. I hope lap 61.
I think we'll make it.
Yeah, I hope so. And a lot of new drivers here in this race, and a lot of drivers that are returning. Like I mentioned, you know, Blaze McKinney coming back, Richard Mendonca's back in the action, Aaron Tribble, Eli O'Quinn making another round, Glenn Bundren, who's a new driver, Justin Johnson, who's making his first start in this series, Benjamin White also doing the same, and then we have the regulars, Aiden Kirker, Kobe Wells, who's back in the action after his win at Martinsville, and Cole Williams obviously back in this race as well. We've seen Cole Williams so many times in a bunch of other races, and of course the other league that we broadcast, the Bunch of Lawn Care Series, and he's had his fair share of experience at Talladega, and we've raced with him personally on this racetrack with these Cup cars, so we kind of know what to expect for some of these drivers going into this race. But I'm going to talk about this qualifying order as it stands right now. We just got 3 minutes 20 seconds left before we start the action. Blaze McKinney back up top like we've seen him so many times. Richard Mendonca, who we haven't seen in a couple races, now back up to second. Aaron Tribble third. Eli O'Quinn, Brady Wheeleman. That is your top five currently as it stands. So if we stay together like it is, and if nobody else sets any qualifying times that are quicker, that could be potentially what we're seeing on this starting grid. Any drivers that really stick out to you there, Charlie?
Yeah, I think Blaze McKinney is a really big name up there. Also, Glenn Bundren, those two are butt buddies when it comes to super speedways in any leagues or races in general. Those two work together really well with each other. So I think those two are really a power duo, and I think they'll be up front most of the race.
And Blaze McKinney is certainly one of the more dominating drivers, like we've seen in a handful of series across the K1 Racing Network in this series, as well as the Bunch of Lawn Care Series. He's currently second in points. We got a question from Basin Racing. That is Dylan Basin himself, unfortunately not able to make this race due to being on vacation, and says, since he is on vacation, will he be in trouble in terms of making the playoffs? And I don't really think it's any trouble going into the playoffs, considering that he has already won. He's already won 2 races in a row. He's won Texas Bristol, and he has those points to his benefit. So I don't think missing this race will do any harm. At least it won't do too big of a harm if he loses any points. But I don't think it'll affect him too much. Charlie, I think we certainly agree on this one, that considering even though he's missing this race, the 2 race wins definitely go to his benefit.
Yeah, definitely. No more cars are on check right now. Not that I can see on my telemetry. So I think this could be the final qualifying order. We see the 87 on top of the scoring pylon right there. Then the 46, 39 will round out your top 3. So just over a minute and 20 seconds left before these guys gird up and start rolling off. And then we'll do, I think, that's my microphone. Kenneth, start talking.
So we're ready to go here at Talladega Super Speedway. The qualifying session is just about to end. You see the time ticking down all the way to 0, and that means that the qualifying as they stand is official, and that means what they will be gridding on the racetrack will be what you see, especially going down to the green flag. You see them gridding all the way up to the start-finish line. One thing about Talladega Super Speedway, apart from Daytona, is that the start-finish line is further down the road. It's kind of in that section between the exit of the tri-oval and the entrance to turn 1. So that leaves a lot of space for some good moves that we might see coming into the final lap. So here is your starting grid. Is McKinney with a blazing 57.156. He stands on the pole for today's action here at Talladega. Right alongside him, the 46 of Richard Mendonca. Great to see him back in the action. Starting on the first row, must be great for him to see.
Behind them, Aiden Kirker, last week's winner in the number 39 car, starting third place to his outside. Aaron Tribble, that number 86 car, you can see him back here as well.
And back to row number 3, there is Eli O'Quinn, who's been a part of these races pretty much all season. He's looking to get his first win this season in the 26. So right alongside him is the 51 of Brady Williman, who finished in 3rd after Sonoma last week. He's looking to keep that up.
Behind him, Glenn Budgeon, the grass man himself. We'll be seeing his series race later tonight, starting 7th there. And Justin Johnson, first time racing here for 408 Racing. And that number 33 car starts 8th.
And back to row number 5, there is Benjamin White. So he starts into 9th, and we're going to look through the last couple of drivers in this field. Colby Wells 10th, Cole Williams 11th, and then rounding out the field is Josh Duke. And that will be your 12-car field for today's action here at Talladega Superspeedway. A little bit of a larger field today compared to what we saw at Sonoma. So hopefully it'll be a lot of fun. And here is your race info presented by SDC. Kind of went over the basics, but here's a little more in-depth look. You see 2.66 miles here at Talladega, 4 turns around this large track and a 540 feet elevation. So pretty high up above the ground, and you're going to see a lot of things go down here at this racetrack. At track temp, it's just over 100 degrees, so very, very slick. But we might see those drivers kind of swerving around, trying to find every bit of grip as we get this green flag, and of course located in Talladega in the United States of America in Alabama. So we've got all the basics covered here at Talladega, and we are ready to get this green flag. You see the pace car down the back straightaway. One thing about what iRacing has done with the yellows, if we have any going into this race, is that they've kind of limited the amount of laps you stay under pacing. Such a long way around this racetrack, going so slow that it's going to take you a while to go around here under caution. So iRacing has done a good job of making sure that the laps are at least 2 laps and maybe even 1 lap to go to green, so these drivers are ready to go. As soon as the caution comes out, they get a little bit of a breather and then go back to racing action as soon as they can. So we'll go off the high banking in turns 3 and 4. And unlike Daytona, we won't be seeing the drivers go green down the tri-oval, and the start-finish line is a little bit further down. We're going to see those drivers get through that as we approach today's action. Blaze McKinney, Richard Mendonça will lead the field of green. Aiden Kirker, Aaron Tribble into row number 2, and they will lead the field to the green flag right in front of the virtual crowd, right to the tri-oval. On the gas pedal, you see the flag man waving the green flag, just ready to get this going, and we are ready to bring you the action on the KBRN Racing Network. Green flag is out. Blaze McKinney, Richard Mendonça will lead the field of green at the Land of Chaos. Around this racetrack, Blaze McKinney has easily taken this lead over Richard Mendonça, who's fallen back just a little bit. You see the high line starting to form with Glenn Bungeon up there. The two friends are going to work together, but here comes Aiden Kirker with help from the 86 of Aaron Tribble. They're going to try to work together. The two Camaros snatched up together, and lots of Camaros down this inside line. They're going to try to work together side by side in turn number 3.
Yeah, Blaze McKinney moved up in front of his friend and teammate, Peak Performance Motorsports teammate, Glenn Bungeon. So they're going to try to get back out in front here, but I think they're going to get that bottom line is organized pretty well. I don't know if they're going to clear them back again, so I think Aiden Kirker will be out in front momentarily. We'll see if he leads this lap. No, maybe he leads that one too.
And so much push from the outside lane. As you see now, one of the drivers scoops up to the high side to try and help. That was Colby Wells in the 45, so he's going to try and help them as much as he can. But so far, Blaze McKinney has led pretty much all the laps around this racetrack, only 2. As you see, Aiden Kirker looks like he's going to try to get out of harm's way and stay a little bit further back, anticipating a crash to come very, very soon. As we got 3 wide with Richard Mendonça all the way to the top of the racetrack. No help, so he might fall back to the back of the line and try to fit himself between Colby Wells and Benjamin White, and he's going to try to do so, and he does. So side by side for the race lead, the two Peak Performance teammates are going to try to work together and go up to the front of the field. Glenn Bungeon will snook up all the way to the inside line. Give that lap lead to Glenn Bungeon.
Now those teammates are lined up on the bottom line, so I wouldn't expect that 87 to bail out on him or really move anywhere else anywhere soon. So I think these two teammates are going to be on front for a while, and yeah, we'll see if Kobe Wells, those two cars up top, will see if they can get by him. But you know, Blaze McKinney is really well known as a really good super speedway racer, so it's going to be a challenge for these guys to get up there and take the lead.
And one of the key points when you go into Talladega, and just like you mentioned, Charlie, with the teammates up front, is the team allegiance. You have to kind of find and pick and choose who you want to work with, and especially if you have teammates out there in the racetrack, it's a little bit easier since you already know, kind of locked in who to choose. Of course, the 87 and the 37, they know their teammates, they know they're good friends, they know they can trust each other on this racetrack and work together the best way they can to try and take a win away from all the other drivers behind. But if you're any one of the drivers behind who don't have a teammate in this field, you kind of have to learn, and as you go over the course of this race, you have to start trying to find out which drivers maybe you trust a little bit more on the racetrack than you would some others. Maybe you don't want to hook up with this guy bumper to bumper and try to draft with each other. Maybe so, or maybe you work better, more comfortably with some of the other drivers. So that's something you have to keep in mind if you're a driver in your perspective, especially if you don't have any teammates or anyone to work with, or maybe anyone unfamiliar with you, and you're going to have to try and work that around to, you know, try and get a partner up there, because you can go up to the high side, try to make a move, but if you don't have help, you can't really go anywhere.
Yeah, definitely, and having those teammates and having those, at least friends on the racetrack during a super speedway race is really key to performing really well. And I have a team of my own, SPM Racing. We race in the NASCAR series mostly, and we work really well together on the super speedways, and we all pull off some pretty decent finishes besides getting wrecked in some. So yeah, it's really important to have those people that you trust, but we're 3 wide for second place.
Looks like Kobe Wells got stuck through the middle. Richard Mendonça had enough of staying behind him. He's going to hook up with one of the Ford Mustangs in this field. That is Benjamin White in his first start. Justin Johnson, Eli O'Quinn are going to follow, so that'll leave Kobe Wells stuck through the middle. But it looks like not enough of a run from the guys up there with a lot of help. I'm surprised they didn't try to, you know, keep that going and go around. It looks like they'll file back behind the 45 and try to help him push up to the race lead. And we see this so many times here at Talladega and the super speedways. You get the help from up top, you can get a large push because you get the run off of the straightaways. You get bigger runs on the straightaways than you would in the turns. Of course, the shorter way around the racetrack usually is the fastest, but off of the straightaways you have a lot more to work with, and you get that speed off the corner, so you're able to keep yourself there with the leaders. And if you get a large push from somewhere behind you, you can definitely push up to the leaders, much like we saw with Glenn Bungeon there, who took the race lead early on. You're on board with Glenn Bungeon, and you see how close the drivers are with each other, bumper to bumper. You saw a little bit of the inside of the race car, and from there down the tri-oval, the two Peak Performance Raceway car, the two Peak Performance Motorsports drivers leading them off.
Looking strong as of right now, and those guys behind them, Aaron Tribble and Brady Wheelman are just sticking behind them, and I can guarantee you if they hop up and get to that high line and get more cars from the bottom line, that high line is going to be a train, and they're going to get up to the front. So it's really which line has more cars and which line has the more experience, basically. So obviously we see right now the high line's at a disadvantage because it's 3 versus 4 up there right now. So yeah, it's really all strategy and trying to pick the right lane to go in and trying to get out front.
So you see this first group and the final drivers in that first group before you get a couple car lanes back to Cole Williams, who's behind Justin Johnson and Brady Willeman. So those are the drivers in that group as Richard Mendonça tries once more to go 3 wide to get around Kobe Wells. He currently has his nose there. He's going to peek it through, go to the outside with help from Justin Johnson, but not enough. Going to try to slip back under Kobe Wells. So a numerous attempts for that 46 has yet to get it done. And now Cole Williams and the rest of the guys will start to stack back up. And that usually happens here at Talladega. You see a good amount of separation, especially when drivers are trying to move back and stay with each other, you know, try to maybe get some strategy with the fuel and try not to use as much throttle in the draft, but then you risk the possibility of losing that draft in the first group, and then you fall back significantly, and that can really ruin your strategy going down the road. So that's something we're going to have to watch for as the drivers start to peak back up. But a battle for the race lead underway. Colby Wells now has the help he needs to fend off with Glenn Bunge, and they're going to be side by side off turn 2.
Yeah, quite a bit. These guys have stacked up quite a bit. Once again, they've gotten real close, but you know, some of those guys like that 42 to 39 are all kind of laying back right now, just trying to play it safe, and there really is no safe spot at Talladega. Even from the race lead, you're not safe, and you're really prone to a wreck anywhere on the racetrack you are. So that's one of the things about it. That's just something you have to deal with. You have to take those risks. You have to get up front and just race your heart out, I guess. And I guess just hope for the best. And you know, these super speedway races are known for being pretty much luck based. And you know, whoever draws the right card will win.
And of course, choosing the right partner also helps as well, as Blaise McKinney looks to the bottom. I guess just trying to get some clean air to the front bumper of his Chevrolet Camaro, because when you're behind a driver for so long, your oil temperatures start to go, your water temperatures start to go up. You know, you don't want your car to overheat and blow up in the midst of you trying to push somebody or trying to help someone get to the front and staying in the draft. So what you have to do, you kind of have to just watch out for that and give a little bit of leeway to get some air into that engine as you can. And you saw Blaise McKinney just kind of move out of line a little bit to get some of that fresh air and stay behind Glenn Bunge without having the risk of blowing up the race car. But that outside lane really is moving over the course of these couple of laps. Colby Wells has been able to stay with Glenn Bunge, and he's fallen back without the help, and now that he's got the help of the 46 and the 33 behind him, he's using that to his advantage. He has yet to actually get past the race leader and lead a lap, but he's been able to stay with them, and now with help from Eli O'Quinn and more drivers start to get up top, we're going to have a good battle for the lead.
You're on board with Blaise McKinney, and this is just kind of a point of view. It's kind of like a helmet cam here. When you're behind someone and you're pushing them, you can't even see that racetrack unless they move like half a lane up like Glenn's doing. All you see is that huge spoiler, and you know, it really takes a lot of skill and finesse to be able to push properly and really well. So I know Blaise McKinney's really good at doing that, and there's a lot of higher iRacing guys who are really experienced there. So yeah, like we said right there, you can't even see that racetrack ahead of you.
You have to kind of guess where that yellow line is in order to stay there sometimes, or just at least try to follow the driver in front of you, because if that driver, you know, makes a little mistake, goes a little bit higher, as you see, looks like Colby Wells will start to back out, and he will fall behind Richard Mendoza and the 33 of Justin Johnson, who will lead that outside group. You have to kind of just guess where you are, or at least if you peek out a little bit to get some of that fresh air, you kind of have that anticipation of where the turn is and when you're going to start turning along with the driver you're pushing. And Lock the Bumpers are the two Peak Performance Motorsports drivers all together, and this inside line really hasn't changed apart from a couple drivers further back, farther than Brady Wheeleman. Now Benjamin White is in this group, who fell back just a little bit, but ever since they stacked up, he's been able to stay up there. Now trying to work the high side of Brady Wheeleman all by himself with no help to follow. Looks like Eli O'Quinn and Colby Wells and Richard Mendoza goes back up. So lots of drivers just trying their luck here on the high side. We've seen just drivers experimenting, because it's very scary to go up to the high side, because if you go to the high side, you can get bailed out just like the 46 just did to the 31. You can get pushed out of the way. You can get sent down the middle. You can get taken advantage of and possibly lose your position and fall all the way back to the train like the 31 just did. So going to the high side, it's basically a game of just picking and choosing and just hoping somebody stays up there. That 46 has been able to get some help along with the high side and Eli O'Quinn in Colby Wells, and of course Justin Johnson, who now sits to the bottom. But lap 14, currently all Glenn Bunge and Blaise McKinney, they've been the two strongest cars in the field, and they have not let up since the drop of the green flag. And as we're approaching lap number 15, getting further into this race, why not we crank the volume all the way up to 11 and go KBRN, crank it up.
Oh, we got trouble here. Cars all over the place.
Got contact. That was from Blaze McKinney and I believe Richard Mendonça, and that really shuffled the field around, so that really scrunched up everybody everywhere. Glenn Bungeon still in the race lead, but that could have been huge. Now Brady Willeman goes to the inside. Blaze McKinney will fall back. We'll take a replay. You see Bungeon just trying to block to the high side. He was able to do so, and then they got 3 wide, and Colby Wells gets into Blaze McKinney after contact from the 46, and I don't know how they kept that together without going around. But unfortunate for Blaze McKinney, who falls back through this order. He's going to have to work himself back up to the front. But that was very scary. That could have been the first caution. Glad it wasn't.
Yeah, that was very, very close. Great job for all these guys to take evasive action and kind of jump out of the way and avoiding a caution there. So great job to these guys. But we do see a bit of damaged cars back there, such as the number 45, Colby Wells, and Blaze McKinney as well. So yeah, that really shuffled up the running order right now.
So now it just leaves the single file line. Justin Johnson trying to make something happen on the high side. Looks like he'll fall back a couple of spots, and Blaze McKinney still looking out to get some of that fresh air, but unfortunate for him. And while we're under the screen flag run, we're going to get a question from Reese Kupski Designs down in the YouTube chat. He asks, a favorite paint scheme this race, and also hoping you stay safe, Charlie, so well wishes there. But, Charlie, if you had a favorite paint scheme to choose out of the colors we see today, which one would you pick?
Oh, man, there's a decent amount of really good paint schemes here, but I'm going to have to go with that number 39 car, that Mountain Dew. I believe that's a flavor. I can't recall it. What flavor that is, I don't know. My parents don't let me drink Mountain Dew or any energy drinks anymore, so... yeah, that looks like a really cool lightning car. I guess it goes along with the flavor, but I don't know. I don't drink it, but it's like a really Mountain Dew Voltage. That's the flavor. And a really cool lightning ambience right there. So that's a really cool paint scheme. But along with the custom Brian Newman Stuart Haas Racing number right there, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's one of the paint schemes that he sported throughout this season, of course, with the Marines paint scheme that he won with at Sonoma last week. I think if there's any other paint scheme that really shines out from this rest of the field, it definitely has to be the driver who's led a good portion of this race. Glenn Bungeon in the 37, sporting a Bungeon Lawn Care Series car. You see the green and yellow, and of course the grass all the way to the bottom with the lawnmower up on the top of the hood. I think that's one of the more fun cars to watch go around the racetrack. It's just such a cool looking car, and with those colors I think it blends really well with the car, considering green and yellow aren't necessarily colors that really go together too well, but I think in this paint scheme it flows very, very perfectly, and I think Corey Hartz has done a good job of making that paint scheme. I believe I'm not sure who designed the paint scheme, but very, very nice paint scheme
right behind him.
Oh, nice. So Blaze made that paint scheme. That's a lot of fun to see. But beautiful paint scheme regardless, and of course a little bit of bias since they sponsor our series, the Bungeon Lawn Care series that we broadcast. So hopefully to see that later on tonight. But so far we've got a battle now again for the race lead. 2 Chevy Camaros battling with help on the top. That is Brady Willeman on the top for the first time this afternoon, with Aiden Kirker and Richard Mendonça, who's been trying so hard to make that outside lane work, and he has yet to do so. But nice to see a lot more drivers peeking up to the high side and trying to make things a little more tense and trying to gain some spots along the way, as now Aiden Kirker falls to the bottom. He's going to dump the 51 and allow the 46 and the 31 to catch back up, and Eli Quinn still a little bit indecisive. He's going to still work to the bottom with Justin Johnson. But Blaze McKinney, even though with that little bit of damage that he had from that incident with the 45, he's been able to keep himself up, and he's gained positions ever since that incident. He's now up to 3rd.
Yeah, we'll see if he can get back to that bumper of the number 37 car. It looks like he's trying to see if that 86 can go, but I can guarantee you if that 86 hops up, he's going to jump right back down right under him and try to fake him out there just to get back. And I think these guys realize that these two guys are butt buddies and are really work really well together. So I think they're trying to keep him from getting back bumper to bumper.
And Aaron Tribble, you see him there, the white and black Chevy Camaro, following in second behind Glenn Bungeon in this first line. And Aaron Tribble made his first start at Texas a couple weeks back, and he had a great race to talk about and really battled for the race lead very, very late in the running, and he was able to muster a good finish out of that. So already in his first 2 starts, Aaron Tribble has put his name on the map, as you should say, and he's been able to keep himself consistent, and I'm pretty sure he's starting to gain respect from the drivers around him. And especially putting on a good run for him if he can get enough points to go into the playoffs later in the season. Still a long way to go till the playoffs start at Darlington at race 20. So he has that time. He's able to do it, and I think right now he's been able to keep himself up this field in his first 2 starts, and he's been able to stay consistent. He's a very, very great job from that 86. They've done a phenomenal job this season so far.
And Aiden Kirker, I don't see him on the track anymore.
I think Aiden Kirker, got an update on Aiden Kirker. He has throughput through the server, so unfortunate connection issues for the former race winner last week. So he won't be able to contend for a win this week. So unfortunate to see him go out pretty early in this race. Unfortunate from connection issues for that 39. We hope to see him next week, definitely at Dover, or unless he's able to connect back into the session and be able to try his best to get a good finish out of this if we get some yellows along the way. But you're looking at this large group right now, and Glenn Budgeon's still leading. You see Aaron Tribble, Blaze McKinney, Brady Willeman, the 42 of Cole Williams now is into this top 5 for the first time, and we haven't seen him since the start of this race, so he's been able to come up through this field. And then, of course, the drivers who we've seen so much trying to make that outside work, Justin Johnson, the 46 of Richard Mendonça, and Eli O'Quinn, Colby Wells, Benjamin White, Josh Duke is the final driver on the racetrack right now, further back in this line. And if you're one of these drivers, are you really expecting something to happen up front? Are you really just kind of staying back here to keep it safe, or you're just trying to stay up here just kind of to stay back at least for now and save your equipment for what you have going later in this race?
I think the current state of the field right now is really what their strategy is. They're all kind of single file, not really wanting to go. I see a couple guys trying to hop up and try to get to the front, but for the most part, they're running very conservatively, like I kind of hoped for, like I said before the race. But yeah, I think these guys are really taking a conservative approach right now. We haven't even reached halfway in the race yet, so they still have a bit of ways to go at this 2.5-mile racetrack, and that should be setting up for a good finish as long as we have all these cars there.
We're approaching 5 laps till the halfway mark at lap 30. That'll be the halfway portion. And of course, we'll go through the field, and you see the whole field there, all of them together in single file. Looks like Justin Johnson, not sure if he's trying to stay up there or just to kind of stay back in this field. Looks like Richard Mendonça would try and help him, and not enough. I think he's just going to try and get a pass around him and get some track position along the way. Not sure what's happening there, but one of the drivers who's peaked up top, Blaze McKinney, with no help, but he's been able to get this draft with Aaron Tribble and side draft, and now he has the help from Benjamin White, so he's going to get that, and Eli O'Quinn to the outside. So now could be a battle for the race C between the two teammates in a couple laps time if they're able to get the help.
Yeah, and here comes Benjamin White. He's up there as well, but I think Blaze McKinney is falling back quite a bit. We see Richard Mendonça and Josh Duke. I think they made some contact in the last lap, and I'm not really sure what happened between them, but they're falling back quite a bit.
So Blaze McKinney, who tried making a move up top, has fouled in behind Colby Wells. Benjamin White, who was trying to make that work up there, and Eli O'Quinn, they've fallen back through the field. Eli O'Quinn now behind Justin Johnson. Benjamin White will file behind Cole Williams, who also tried making a high line move a little bit earlier, a couple of laps prior, but he had no help up there, so he was just staying back, and he fell back a couple spots and fell back into this line. And now you see Blaze McKinney trying to get the help to the outside, and he has yet to been able to find anyone to go up with him. It's pretty much been the same amount of drivers who's made moves up top. It's always been the 33, the 45, and then you see the 26 of Eli O'Quinn. Benjamin White has also tried his fair share of staying up there. And, of course, the 46 of Richard Mendonça, who we saw try to take the lead a couple laps ago. We got a crash. I believe that is the 46. Went down to the inside wall. He has significant damage to the Ford Mustang. Hopefully not the track, and he gets up the track. That'll definitely bring a yellow unless we see it, but no yellow flag on the racetrack. So Richard Mendonça is around. We'll take a replay, and I think it was just a single car incident, no help. He was all the way back here behind Josh Duke, and I'm not sure whether he just kind of, well, I think he might have had the wall there, and he does, and then goes straight down and tries to save the car, and then gets into the inside wall. and swings back up the racetrack, but no yellow. I'm surprised that there was no yellow called on that one, but the field will stay green. Glenn Bundren still leads this field as now they lap the 46. A little bit of an update from the 46 says his wheel is disconnected, so that might have been the issue surrounding that wreck. But I'm surprised no yellow.
Yeah, I mean, it's only a single car incident, but he did come up on the racetrack in that kind of harm's way, but luckily no cars were coming at him. We see a big shot to the rear end of that number 37 car from that 86, but Blaze McKinney has not given up, trying to catch up to that bumper again. But, yeah, he's wasting no time. He wants to get back up there, I don't blame him.
And Glenn Bundren trying to block each and every lane, and he's done an efficient job of doing so without hurting his race car any bit. You know, he's been able to kind of have both lines to his control. He's been just able to stay up front and hasn't gotten moved out of line, which I'm surprised has not happened, or at least he's done a good job of preventing that from happening and him getting moved out of the line and for possibly falling back to this line and falling back in track position. But Blaze McKinney has been trying to get that outside working with help from Eli O'Quinn. He had a charge at the top two, but he hasn't been able to do it, and he got that help, but I don't think it's enough. So many cars on the bottom versus the 2 cars, now 3 cars with Benjamin White up top. So still lots of deficit between that top and the bottom, lots of drivers shuffling around, and not much help from the top. Blaze McKinney will fall back behind Colby Wells. And he has that draft as Eli O'Quinn will now try to make it 3 wide, and he does. Right to the middle goes Eli O'Quinn, but no help with Benjamin White. He's going to stick with Blaze McKinney to the top, and Eli O'Quinn will have enough space to dip down to the bottom right in front of Cole Williams. So good save by Eli O'Quinn to not make anything, harmful out of that. And everyone fouls back to the inside, working together. But while we are under this green flag run, we have a question by Aiden Kirker, who fell through the session, asked, why does my power want to go out? Only in my room and only when I'm racing.
Wow.
That's unfortunate.
I thought that was maybe a Wi-Fi issue, but his entire power just went out. That's really unfortunate. He was running pretty decently.
He had a great run going in that 39, and you just complimented his paint scheme, and he was doing a good job staying in this line. Unfortunate to see him out of this one earlier on, but we just reached the halfway portion of this race. It's time to go through our little race break and go through the field as they stand. We'll start with the driver in first right now, who's led a good portion of this race, 29 laps to his benefit. Glenn Bundren Jr. has led pretty much almost every lap since the drop of the green flag, just 3 laps that he has not been able to lead, and he has dominated this race so far. But now under pressure from Aaron Tribble and Brady Wheeleman, we're now 2nd and 3rd, and they'll get the help. Looks like Aaron Tribble will take over the race lead. We'll see if he dips down to the bottom with Glenn Bundren to take over it for sure, but he's got the help from the 51, and everyone's going down pit road. They're going to start the pit cycle halfway through.
Yeah, I think we forgot to talk about this, that these guys have to one-stop this race, and looks like half of the field will come down, and the other half will come down later. So these guys are trying to split the race halfway on lap number 32 of lap 60. So these guys will be good on fuel to the end, and we won't have to worry about another pit stop then. But as long as these guys get a good pit stop, they won't lose the draft, and they should be just fine. And you see Justin Johnson slides through a stall. He's on the inside wall. That's going to be a really big disadvantage, because they can't complete that pit stop if he's that close to the wall.
Well, he's able to get out before these drivers do. Glenn Bundren is now hitting the reverse gear, and he's going to get out of his pit stall, and I think he's going to fall a couple spots. I think he just missed his pit box completely, and he does, so he's going to lose a lot of time. That is definitely not going to be good for that 37 who has yet to pit. That is Aaron Tribble and Brady Wheeleman and Eli O'Quinn, Benjamin White. Those are the drivers who have yet to hit pit road. Glenn Bundren finally exits the pit road, so he's going to be by himself on the racetrack, and not a good look for the dominant race driver who's been leading so many laps. And here is the group that pitted. There is Blaze McKinney making it 3 wide, splitting Colby Wells down the middle with Colby Wells. I don't know how he did that. And there's Cole Williams to the top side. That is impressive. He was able to do that without getting any contact with them, but he passes them easily. They're going to go side by side, and once you get out of pit road here and you have this strategy in your hands, as I think Justin Johnson's going to get a second dip down pit road, he is, but these guys who are out of pit road now, and who just exited, much like Blaze McKinney, Kobe Wells, Cole Williams, the drivers that are close to each other. Obviously, Glenn Bundren not close to any driver, so he has no help. But if you're in that group, is it better to stay in a group and try to draft with each other in order to catch these guys as soon as this main group finally hits pit road?
Well, if I were to choose, I would go with the bigger group that goes into pit road. You know, I know it seems dangerous, all those guys braking at the same time and trying to make pit road speed as fast as they can, but to me, going with the bigger group is a really big advantage because a bigger group of cars is faster than a small group of cars, and once you get back on track, if that bigger group runs faster laps and that smaller group goes down pit road, that bigger group is going to get a big jump on them. So, and those guys are possibly going to lose the draft. So these 4 guys could be at a disadvantage if they don't line up and go, as compared to Blaze McKinney and all those guys who are lined up. I guess they have less cars now, but that kind of deflated my entire statement that I said.
Well, they had 4 cars with Justin Johnson, but then Justin Johnson went down pit road, so then that limited them to just 3 drivers at this trifecta of the 87, the 45, and the 42. So they are together down the back straightaway and slowly creeping up this main group to them, and that is the drivers who have still yet to pit. And I'm curious to see whether they're going to start to pit. I think this main group is starting to pit, so I think they're just signaling that they're going to pit this time by. So I think this is the start of their pit cycle. They're going to try and gap as much as they can. They have that gap to their advantage. I believe they're going to start going down pit road this time by, and they do. All 4 of them did down pit road. That is your leader Aaron Tribble, Brady Wheeleman, Benjamin White, and Eli O'Quinn. All 4 down pit road, easily down pit road, no contact between any of those drivers. So they will get their pit service, and we'll see how this second group with Blaze McKinney, led by Blaze McKinney, will file out, as there's Josh Duke all by himself on the racetrack, trying to stay with himself and Glenn Bundren. I think they might try to work together if they get close enough. But all the drivers down pit road now. Blaze McKinney leading this group will be on the back straightaway. We'll see how they exit compared relatively to this 3-car group, and if they're able to at least try to get something on them, because they didn't lap them. There's no lap ahead. They're not a lap down, at least. Justin Johnson's the first driver a lap down. Now they're out of pit road, and they're coming towards this tri-oval. So hopefully we might see a close battle, or they'll just be able to barely get by. So I believe the new leader will be Blaze McKinney as we come through these next couple laps.
Benjamin White kind of came out of pit road behind all of them, but we're going to see these guys wrap around. Looks like they are going to pass them. We'll see if they pass them all here. They just have Aaron Tribble ahead of them. Oh yeah, I think they're just going to blow by them. So those guys who pitted later, they're going to have to line up and go if they want to catch back up. And if this goes caution-free, they have to catch up when the race comes to an end.
And luckily, Aaron Tribble does not have that big of a gap, and he's able probably to get up speed. And hopefully he's able to get back the draft with Cole Williams, so he'll be hopefully able to stick with them. But lots of separation we saw from the drivers in this group that are able to go down pit road. We see drivers slowly getting separated with mistakes on pit road and with slower pit stops if, let's say, they have to get damage fixed or what have you. So that second group really separated by more than a second. There's Aaron Tribble, and then following behind is Brady Wheeleman with Eli O'Quinn. So hopefully they'll be able to stick together and try to help each other get up to Aaron Tribble and form a group of their own. And then one of the drivers who's falling back is Justin Johnson in that group, who's now about to get lapped once again by the rest of the field down the back straightaway into turn 3. He'll let them by all the way in the top, so he'll be 2 laps down now, and or he'll just be 1 lap down now, excuse me. So he'll be 1 lap down now, followed behind the field. Unfortunate. You see how much the separation can really affect whether you have an advantage or whether you don't have anything coming off pit road, and it means a lot going down the stretch.
Yeah, I'm looking at these guys here that are trying to catch up. They're under a second now. That's really when the draft kind of fades away, is when you get just over a second away. But looks like they're gaining time. I think they'll be able to catch back up, and we'll get a 5-car pack, 6-car pack, I should say, once again. But Benjamin White kind of suffered in that pit stop, and has fallen back to 7 seconds behind Eli O'Quinn.
There is Benjamin White. As you see, Aaron Tribbles, I think he's just going to try and stick with these other 2 that he's been familiar with, and those drivers who helped him get to the race lead over Glenn Bundren in those last couple laps before the pit cycle started. But while we're under the green flag run, we're approaching 20 laps remaining in this race. Another question from Francisco asks, mid-race report, which we were kind of going through just before they started that pit cycle, so I believe we'll just try to start it all over again. So there is your race leader. Now is Blaise McKinney, a peak performance driver, much like we saw with Glenn Budgeon when he was in the race lead, but another peak performance driver up front. He's led a good portion of this race. He's led 5 laps, and he's fallen into Glenn Budgeon in terms of the laps led, but now that he's up front, he'll be able to get some of those laps back to his name. And currently in first, he has had some contact with the driver right behind him. That is Colby Wells, who has stayed pretty much farther back throughout this run. But Blaise McKinney currently first and still trying to lead this race all the way up to the end and get his first win this season.
Colby Wells has been running inside the top 5 all race, currently sitting second, and has not gotten out in front at all yet. So Colby Wells in that number 45 car, currently sitting solid in second place. We got, I believe, this entire pack is Chevys. So a big Chevy pack here hanging out with his Chevy teammates. And started 10th, gained 8th spots, and is currently sitting right behind a race leader, pretty comfortable right now.
Down to third is the driver who finished second, a member of Going Low Racing, along with Aiden Kirker, who is out of this race for good. But a fellow Going Low Racing member, Cole Williams, who has had a fair share of experience here at Talladega, like we mentioned earlier in the broadcast, where he's had some races here in NASCAR, and he's done some Bungeon Lawn Care Series racing, and he's going to be doing that as well later tonight. So he is having that experience at Talladega. Currently third right now in this group, pitted with this main group here with the 45 and the 87. He did not have that separation, so fortunately he stayed with this main group, and he's been able to keep himself in that Kelly Oubre Chevy Camaro. So good run for him right now. Hopefully another top 5 to his name, and even a race win if he can get it done.
Aaron Tribble 5 laps led in that number 86 Chevy Camaro. I believe that was when the leaders came down pit road, but I believe that's Going Low Racing driver, that number 86 car, currently sitting a comfortable top 5 right now, right in front of his teammate. Right in front of his teammate Brady Wheeleman, and it's those two teammates together. That's the most populated team in this front pack. You know, Glenn Budgeon is not in it anymore, so Blaise McKinney is on his own. So, Going Low Racing car drivers, bumper to bumper right now.
And then right behind the 86 is the 51 of Brady Wheeleman, who finished third at Sonoma last week after his scuffle with Dylan Basin going to the final hairpin. And he has had a fair share of good runs over the past couple of races. He's been able to stay with the top 5. He's had his look at the front of the field a couple of times, much like we saw here at Talladega when he had the help with Aaron Tribble, helping Aaron Tribble there. So those two have been fairly comfortable with each other as there's Jock Duke behind them. But Brady Wheeleman has had a good run. He's been consistent, he's been up there, and he's slowly been able to stay within top 5s and slowly get those points every single race. So good run for the 51 right now. If he can keep where he is in his Bodega Bates Chevrolet Camaro, he'll be another top 5 to his name, or we'll see if he can try to get up through this field in the next couple of runs. And following right back is the 26, Charlie.
Yeah, 26 of Eli Quinn, one of the drivers who's taking a more conservative approach to this race, driving that Jimmy Johnson Ally paint scheme in that Chevy Camaro. So, taking a more conservative approach to this race, but we talked earlier about the most underrated driver in this series. I picked Aiden Kirkard, but my second pick would be this 26 car right here. He's performed really well. Doesn't have the results to show it throughout the season, but he's really been a threat sometimes throughout the season in multiple leagues that I race in. So, currently sitting just outside the top 5, last car in this pack. So, that's Eli O'Quinn, right outside the top 5.
And then back to 6 is the driver who's way behind this main group all by himself in that 31 Ford Mustang. That is Benjamin White, making his first start in the LWRC NASCAR Cup Series at Talladega. He's had a promising run. It looked promising through the early stages. He was trying to make some moves to the top and wasn't successful with the 46 of Richard Mendonça and, of course, Justin Johnson up top, Eli O'Quinn among those drivers. But currently 6th right now. Actually, currently 7th, right now. And, you know, not the best run you anticipate, especially after this pit road cycle. He was probably hoping to stay with this group as quickly as possible, but unfortunately has not been able to do so. So just kind of hitting his marks by himself right now. And then you follow all the way back to 7th with the driver who's dominated a good portion of this race.
Yeah, Glenn Budgeon has led the most laps so far, and Blaise McKinney is just trailing behind him on laps led. And just made a really big mistake under that pit stop, and it cost him a lot of positions there. So He's lost the draft right now. He's the last car in the lead lap, so if a caution does come out, he will be saved. But that lead pack is catching pretty quickly. But led 29 laps, started 7th, lost 1 spot throughout that pit stop cycle there, and is really hoping for a caution right now.
And then back to 9th, who's in this main group. That is Justin Johnson. So he has the draft in order to stay there and try to unlap himself at some point. But so far, right behind the race leader, Blaise McKinney, right in the between the drivers on this lead lap, who are separated by less than pretty much half a second between all these drivers here. But Justin Johnson, not the best run, of course. With that pit stop, it really harmed him, and then he was with that main group up until he pitted again. So then that set him further back. He is currently the first driver, 1 lap down. He's lost 1 spot to drop of the green flag, currently 9th right now. And he's hoping for a caution as well, because then he can get that lucky dog to his advantage, and then he'll be right back up with the drivers on the lead lap. Currently hoping for that right now in this main group, just sticking where he is right now.
And last but certainly not least, Josh Duke, one of the drivers who's laid back, like I mentioned, taking a more conservative approach to this run. He is currently the second car 1 lap down on the racetrack. So that's gonna end your mid-race report here, and we just have under 15 laps to go here at Talladega Superspeedway. Blaise McKinney leads the way.
And Blaise definitely has that comfort, like we mentioned with Justin Johnson right behind him. It was a lap down. He has no effect on this race win. So if this stays where it is from here on out, and Justin Johnson stays in this group, and he's still going to be a lap down, he's not going to be able to contend for a race win unless a yellow comes out. So he's staying here. He's pretty much acting as a pick in front of Aaron Tribble and the guys behind, starting with Brady Wheeleman. As you see, Glenn Bundren is now staying with his zone and trying to fend off the drivers who are in this main group, hopefully to stay out of the way and just try to follow back in this draft if he's able to. But, you know, that pick with Justin Johnson, that'll definitely help Blaise McKinney out even more, because although you might have a move with Aaron Tribble or Brady Wheeleman or any drivers who's helping him, then you have, you know, that separation as now Justin Johnson goes to the high side. So that pretty much dissipated everything I just said with Aaron Tribble and Brady Wheeleman. I think Justin Johnson might be trying to stick with Glenn Bundren, who's possibly going down a lap down, and hopefully was trying to stick with him, but Glenn Bundren goes in front of the field. But like I was saying, it acted as a pick, not anymore. So now Aaron Tribble and Brady Wheeleman, and if any of those drivers help him up top, they'll definitely help him get around and easily get around that 87 if they have the help. It's just all dependent on what they do in these final 10 laps here, Charlie.
Yeah, in my head, I knew this was going to happen. Blaise McKinney was not going to pass that 37 car. Obviously, the 37 at risk of going 1 lap down, and Blaise McKinney wants to keep him ahead unless just in case a wreck happens behind them. He doesn't get that lucky dog. He can go ahead and get a pit stop with the field, but oh boy, there goes Blaise.
And Blaise McKinney, just an update, he has just lost his connection, so he is gone from the race lead, and that leaves everybody to scoot up 1 position. That leaves Aaron Tribble in the race lead. Unfortunate for Blaise McKinney, who was leading that. Wow, I can't believe that happened. Unfortunate for Blaise McKinney. Now, he's definitely not going to have a factor in this race unless he connects back in and try to get some laps back in. But that leaves Aaron Tribble now to the race lead with just 10 laps to go. And while we have this little stretch of green flag, we have another question from Reese Kutsky asked, how do you feel about these playoffs? Of course, still a long way to go till the playoffs starting at Darlington, but we're reaching just about single-digit numbers until we reach that number 20, race number 20, to the playoffs. And if there's anything here that you're looking at Talladega, is there anything significant you see that could possibly affect these playoffs, or how do you feel about them?
Oh yeah. If someone wins, they're in. I believe that's how the series works. Is if you win a regular season race, you're locked into the playoffs. So this is a really good opportunity for someone like Aaron Tribble, Brady Wheeleman, and people like Eli O'Quinn to punch their ticket into the playoffs here. So you know, they're definitely not going to let this opportunity go to waste. But just 10 laps to go here at Talladega.
Now just single digits left until we reach this checkered flag with Aaron Tribble commanding the field in front of Brady Wheeleman and Colby Wells, Cole Williams, Justin Johnson, Eli O'Quinn, following back to Josh Duke, who has picked up within this field, are currently still on the lead lap, so he is able to gain positions. Actually, no, he is a lap down, so he will be fighting with Justin Johnson for position if they get close to each other, currently right behind Eli O'Quinn. That seems to be the driver separating them both. But like you mentioned, Charlie, the playoffs, when you're in, you're locked in. Like we answered Dylan Bason's question, even though he's on vacation, he has those 2 wins, so he's locked into the playoffs no matter what. Even if even if he's not part of this race or he's not able to attend, he's still there, so he's able to stay in this season championship and at least have that comfortability going into Darlington in a couple weeks' time. But I also want to bring up the fact that the regular season ends at a super speedway. It ends at Daytona International Speedway. So although right now it's pretty early in the season here in Talladega, you have that experience from Talladega, and you have it coupled up with the season opener if you're able to remember what you did, and you kind of use that to your advantage going into Daytona, have that knowledge, and you're able to learn a little bit more going in later into the season, especially if you're one of the drivers who is not locked in, needs those points, and if you don't win at Talladega, you can have that knowledge to use at Daytona in the last race of the season to try to take a win in a last-ditch effort.
Yeah, for sure. It's yeah.
So single file through this race. We currently have 7 laps remaining till we crown a winner here at Talladega Super Speedway. We have a question from Daryl. Asks, this appears to be a solid group of racers. And he asks, do you think there will be a big one? We almost saw it with Colby Wells and Blaze McKinney, but if you're seeing this right now, especially going down the stretch and in these final laps, do you think there might be some sort of yellow, or at least some drivers getting trying to make some risky moves and potentially causing a big one between these drivers?
A yellow? Sure. I think that we could see a yellow as these guys, maybe with 3-2 to go, when these guys start to jump up and try to get to the race there. I think a caution flag is definitely not out of the picture, but a big one with the entire field almost wrecking, I'm not sure if we'll see that, but the race later tonight, the Bunch of Lawn Care Series that we're also covering, has a 30-car limit, so I think we could definitely see one there. But here, I'm not too optimistic.
Yeah, I think these drivers have enough respect around each other, and the number isn't too big to the point where they'll be making lots of wilder moves and being in a larger pack, especially when you're going 2-3 ride. That seems to be the ticket to where those big ones really start to happen. So single file, not really much unless somebody checks up and then or somebody hits the apron, and that could allow the car to unsettle, and then that could potentially stack up the field and create a crash in that segment. But you see right now, Colby Wells is hitting the go button. He is ready to go to this race lead, but he has no help. And now with the help of Justin Johnson, his lap car, going to try to help him up top and try to fend for this race lead. They just have to get past Aaron Tribble. No need to get past Glenn Bunchen, and if they do, that could cycle back around to what I was saying earlier before it stopped, that pick that you have with the lap car. If you're able to stay with a driver who's a lap down and is not contending for this race lead, at least you're able to have that comfortability, and you have that driver just blocking the rest of the field on the lead lap. So if you're able to get by Glenn Bunchen, you stay in front of Glenn Bunchen, then you're pretty much able to kind of fend off the rest of these guys, unless they have a lot of drivers like you're seeing right now. Aaron Tribble blocks Colby Wells going up. That'll leave 4 cars to the top, followed by Colby Wells, Justin Johnson, Cole Williams. Now Glenn Bunchen falls out of this pack. Brady Willeman will start to the bottom with Eli O'Quinn and Benjamin White. And loose goes Colby Wells. They're wrecking down the back straightaway. Brady Willeman involved, Eli O'Quinn involved. And with just 5 laps remaining, no yellow on the racetrack. I'm surprised they have not triggered that yellow flag, but it stays green from here on out. That leaves Aaron Tribble and Cole Williams in this race lead. No yellow flag from the admins or anyone on the iRacing service. Now the yellow comes out with 5 laps to go.
Wow. That's, yeah, these guys were ready. They wanted to go, and Colby Wells obviously got turned on the back straightaway into the field there. And very unfortunate, but I would consider that big one that we were just talking about, that most of the field just wrecked right there.
And that started with Colby Wells, and that pretty much significantly started when Justin Johnson and not Justin Johnson, Glenn Bunchen got out of the way. You see him get out of the way here, and that dissipates the outside lane being blocked by the car. So there goes Aaron Tribble to the bottom, and then you see Colby Wells trying to block up top, and contact with Justin Johnson gets into Brady Willeman and Eli O'Quinn, and they wreck all the way up the track. and there was no yellow triggered from here on out. They started wrecking, and they were coming back up the racetrack, and no yellow was called. You see another look here from an aerial shot. You see the contact between the 33 and the 45. I think blocked just a little bit too late, did not get the bump in the right place, and that sent him around into the 51 and the 26. But you see them wrecking up this racetrack. No yellow was caused here. I think back when the 26 started to come up the racetrack and Justin Johnson, that's when the yellow was triggered, and then that's when the whole field started to slow down. But interesting call. Cole Williams made the pass right before the yellow flag, so he will be the race leader going into the next restart. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and this is going to push us into a green, white, checkered finish, and that also allows people like Glenn Bundren and I believe Benjamin A. White to get their laps back. So these guys are gonna get their shot once again to get up front and try to take the win here. But green, white, checkered here as most of these guys come down pit road.
And that was definitely something that Glenn Bundren and the drivers lap down. They needed that yellow flag in order to get the lucky dog and get waved around the pace car to fend back for this race win and try to be up there with the race leaders. So they have that opportunity, as looks like everyone goes down pit road apart from your race leader. So Cole Williams will stay out on this next restart. Interesting call by the 42 team and Going Low Racing as Eli O'Quinn, Brady Williman get out before Aaron Tribble. And again, you have the faster pair to your advantage. I almost forgot to mention that when you're down pit road, you have the faster pair in your bag. So if you don't use it for the most part of this race, like none of them have used since they really haven't been involved in huge incidents and they really haven't had large damage, now is their time to use it right before the race ends, and they're able to, have that fresh race car going into these final laps and not have anything to worry about unless they get any damage going later in this run in the green, white, checker.
Yeah, and it's nice to have that cushion it's kind of like a cushion that you can fall back on having that faster pair, and obviously Cole Williams is still has one. I believe they have one faster pair, all these guys, but people like Cole, who did get caught up in that wreck, in case they wreck again, he gets caught up in it, then he'll be fine. He still has that faster pair, and that'll push us into our second green, white, checkered. But if I were to predict what's going to happen here, I think they're going to make it around to the white, and they'll finish it in our first attempt. So, I really have to compliment these guys on their racing right before them. They went green all the way to lap almost 55. So big thumbs up to these guys, and really good racing throughout.
Yeah, just an unfortunate set of circumstances there for Aaron Tribble, who was gonna block that 33, and it looked pretty clean from there. It looked like he was gonna be able to make it work, and then it was just that tiny bump that it kind of sent him around, and it was very unsettling bump there, just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and that's what sent him around. But if there was no bump there, there could have been no caution, and they would have kept going. So amazing job by his driver to stay green through this entire run up until now. But we've got the green, white, checkered, and going to give a little explanation on how that works out. So we're going to get this green, white, checkered here. It's going to be our first attempt of the afternoon here at Talladega. They're going to take the green flag with 2 laps to go. They're going to take one more trip around the racetrack, and if a caution comes out from there, they're going to re-rack and have another shot to do it again. I believe they have 3 attempts until this race will be called official if a yellow comes out. But since if they reach the white flag and they come to this white flag, the leader will take the white flag. If a caution comes out, the field will be frozen. That will be the end of the race. The leader will be conducted, your race winner here at Talladega. So we'll just have to see how that works and if they're able to get to this finish line and the white flag in time to crown a winner. But as these laps start to wind down, each driver will start to get a little more aggressive and try more moves in order, and risky moves, in fact, to try and get up to the race lead and contend and try to be there at the end to the checkered flag. So we'll see what these drivers are willing to do, as Eli O'Quinn will be the first driver on the first row on the outside, right alongside Cole Williams. So every car here is Chevrolet Camaro, apart from Benjamin White, Justin Johnson, and Josh Duke, who are now up to this pack. So they are back in this pack, and they are now on the lead lap. So they'll be able to contend for the race win if anything happens up front. So it's all a telling on what will happen from here on out. We have the 1 to green signal from the pace car. So Cole Williams, Eli O'Quinn will lead them to green. Then goes Brady Williman, Aaron Tribble, and then Colby Wells, Glenn Bundren, Benjamin White will be the final drivers. And then, of course, Justin Johnson, Josh Duke will be the final drivers on the racetrack, will be on the green flag. So final 3 laps of this race, possible further attempts if we have a yellow. Charlie, what's your expectations for this one?
Said it before, nothing but chaos.
A short and sweet there, definitely what we've been expecting this entire race, and we'll see whether it lives up to that statement as soon as we get to this green flag. So off turn 4, they'll have the long trip down to the trial. As you look at your race summary presented by Supermix, 58 laps completed, 3 laps just remain. We've had 5 lead changes. We've only had 1 caution so far. We'll see if that starts to stack up when we get more attempts, if they crash before the white flag. 42 of Cole Williams is in the field's hands. He will command them to the green flag along with Eli O'Quinn. They'll get down this long tri-oval before they get the green flag down there a little bit further down. They'll go off the tri-oval and they'll step on the gas pedal now. Green flag, a huge start by Cole Williams, followed by Eli O'Quinn. They're going to be single file going into turn 1. We'll see if anyone makes any moves.
Good jump by those guys up front, but these guys have a bit of gap behind them. They're going to use that draft to get a big jump on these guys, but here comes Glenn Brunson with help from Kobe Wells and Justin Johnson. 4 versus 3 up top. 42 goes to block. They're going to be 3 wide for the race lead. Here comes Brady Wheelerman in that 51 car.
Cole Williams got split down the middle. There goes Kobe Wells to help, and now Eli O'Quinn will follow to the high side, but 3 wide for the race lead with Brady Wheelerman to the bottom. Glenn Bundren up top with help from Justin Johnson. It's 3-2-2 all the way in each lane. It looks like the bottom lane will prevail for now as they come off of turn 4. Looks like they'll reach the white flag in time. Brady Wheelerman up front with Aaron Tribble right behind. We'll see if there's any moves. White flag here at Talladega.
2 teammates together, that 51 and 86 for Going Low Racing. They're going to be together throughout this final lap here, but here comes the 42 and the 45. They're going to be 2-car tango up top versus 3 on the bottom with Glenn Blanchard to help. Here comes Justin Johnson to help that high line as well, but below the yellow line, looks like they're making a move for the race lead. Almost contact with that 51 car. That 45 car is going to get that jump into turn number 3.
That was a risky move, but we'll see whether they're able to do that. Coming into turn 3 and 4, Kobe Wells with a momentary lead, but now with charging from Brady Wheelerman. 3v3 up here off of turn number 4. They'll reach the tri-oval all the way to the finish line side by side. They're close together. Brady Wheelerman still in this lead with help from the 86 down to the start-finish line for the final time. It'll be Brady Wheelerman up front. First win of the season, another new winner at Talladega. I'm surprised they kept that clean, but congratulations to the 51. What a finish.
And a photo finish there. 0.03 of a second between the 45 and the 51. We're going to get a replay of this one really quickly for you guys, but it looks like they were just so close to wrecking off of turn number 4. And just wow.
You saw Aaron Tribble try to peek down at the bottom, but it wasn't enough. He did not have the run. Kobe Wells was trying to get it off the tri-oval, and you see the mere amount of feet that separated the bumpers of the 51 and the 45. This was right to the line, and you'll see them shoot up right there. Goes the 51, and that is definitely a secured win as you see everybody fall through. Kobe Wells finishes second. Aaron Tribble will finish in this top 3 as they're trying to make a move. Cole Williams into 4th. Glenn Bundren, who was a lap down, finishes in the top 5. And there is Brady Wheelerman burning it down on the front straightaway. Almost had a tap of the wall there, but nonetheless going to burn it down. His first win of the season. Another new winner we see here at Talladega. What a drive. What a finish for that Bodega Paints Chevrolet Camaro. We're going to take a look at your results and, of course, see where everybody finished at the end of today's event. There is your winner celebrating the 51 of Brady Wheelerman. He takes his first win of the season, followed by Kobe Wells, who came just short the following on the high side. Aaron Tribble finishes 3rd in his second start. Another great run for him. A great 3rd place finish. Then goes Cole Williams, another top 5. So great to see Cole Williams continue to stay in his streak of top 5s. Glenn Bundren finishes 5th after having a struggling pit stop. Was able to pick back up on that last restart. Finishes in the top 5. And then Justin Johnson and Benjamin Josh Duke finishes 9th, and then follows the drivers. The driver who lost connection there, Blaze McKinney 13 laps down. Richard Mendonça, Aiden Kirker were the final drivers that finish off this field. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back with more post-race coverage provided by SDC. Going to be a lot of fun interviewing that driver who just burned it down the front straightaway. Brady Williman, first win. Congratulations to him. We'll be back with more action. You're watching the LWRC NASCAR Cup Series right here on the KBRN Racing Network YouTube channel. Welcome back to Talladega, where Brady Williman has just picked up his first win of the LWRC NASCAR Cup Series season from Talladega, and that starts our KBRN post-race coverage presented by SDC. We're going to take a look with our race winner into victory lane. Is the 51 of Brady Williman going to bring him into the booth? And Brady, welcome to the KBRN studios. You got a copy, first of all?
Yes.
Brady, what a drive and what a finish you put on there in this race. You managed yourself through this top group for pretty much most of the evening, and then you had that pitch strategy with Blaze McKinney, Aaron Tribble, those guys, and you finally get your first win of the season. How does that feel for you today?
Man, I don't know where to start. It's just great. It just feels great because I've gotten unlucky in almost every league race I've done, and to finally have some luck on my side feels great.
Well, Brady, you definitely had a nice charge there at the end with help from Aaron Tribble. And I want to talk about pretty much the drivers around you for a good portion of this race. You worked with a good chunk of drivers, especially Aaron Tribble. Was there anything special that you guys are kind of working together through that final stint and the going to the checkered flag?
Nothing, not really, but we're teammates. 501 Racing, so I want to thank him. A big thanks to him because he could have made a move maybe and you know tore up that race. But I just thank you to Aaron Tribble. I mean, man, I don't know. It's just thank you to everyone. I guess thank you to everyone in the race that helped, and yeah, it was a great race.
And of course, it was so great watching you take your first win this season. And before we let you go to celebrate here at Talladega, you got any people, anybody else? I know you mentioned a couple already, Aaron Tribble being one of them. But any teams, any else you want to shout out for making today's effort possible?
I want to thank 501 Racing, Bodega Aerials, Bodega in general. Thank you to Kyle Durbin, he owns Bodega, and just thank you to everyone that was here, and thank you for commentating. Thank you for this.
Well, we appreciate everything you've been putting out here in the LWRC NASCAR Cup Series, and of course, we congratulate you on a phenomenal victory here at Talladega. We hope to see you at the Dover doubleheader next week, and that'll be a whole different race in its own right. But you're locked into the playoffs, and of course, congratulations, Brady. You deserve it.
Thank you.
Brady Williman out of the booth. He takes his first win. Phenomenal ending for that 51 after a streak of races that have not resulted in him staying up front, but great to see him to take his first win. And Charlie is there with second place. Colby Wells, who was a winner at Martinsville, takes second here. We'll see his perspective, Charlie.
Gotcha.
Well, Colby, a very consistent day for you. Turns into a second place finish by a bumper with that 51 car. Just talk to us how that whole race went for you as a whole.
It was alright. Got a little damage on lap 5 from the little door slamming on the backstretch on straightaway. But other than that, it was a clean race, I guess, and it was fun, but just not a fan of second.
Yeah, and coming up just short at the line there with the 51 car. In that green-white checkered finish, what more did you need to really get that nose out in front and steal the win away?
I definitely needed more people trying to make moves and trying to win, but that didn't happen. I want to say Cole was the only person behind me, so when there's 6 people on the bottom and 2 people up top, there's not really much you can do. So.
All right, well, Colby, another very consistent day for you. It turns into just a second place finish there. But thank you for coming down here and racing with us at Talladega. It was very fun watching you guys put on a show out there. But before we let you go, do you have any teams or any people you want to give a shout out to before we let you go?
All right. Yeah, I got to thank Chris Lewis, iRacing, BK Paints, Asheville Rooftop Bar Tours, Sawhorse. Thank you guys for putting on the broadcast, and thank you to Jaden for putting on the league.
All right, well, Colby, we hope to see you next week and throughout the rest of the season here, and we wish you the best of luck, man.
Thank you.
That was Colby Wells, just by a nose, finishing just second place here, and not too happy about that one. But a good points day for him. We're going to go ahead and go trackside with third place car, Aaron Tribble.
I'm going to bring Aaron Tribble, who finished his third, who was working with Brady Williman through the end of that run, and I believe trying to make a move through the end, but was just not able to do so, pushing that 51 to victory. And welcome Aaron Tribble to the KBRN booth. You got a copy with us, first of all?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
All right, Aaron. Well, you had a promising run there with a bunch of the drivers in that first group. You maintained yourself with Blaze McKinney there, and unfortunately, Blaze McKinney's connection issues put you up into the lead and put you in the catbird seat through those final stages. Tell us how that was going to those final races, final laps, I should say, especially with that caution that brought out the green-white checkered.
Yeah, I was just doing pretty good. I was working there with the 51 car, obviously the winner of this race. We are teammates, obviously, and we were just focused on trying to get that win, and that was lucky with Blaze, having his connection issues, and then, we just took that. It's very lucky for us. Very unfortunate for him. He had one of the better shots to win this race. He's a good driver, and yeah, we got lucky. And that final set, like where caution came out, I don't know. I was like, I'm gonna try and push one of these two, either Eli or Brady, to the win here, and we got Brady the win.
Well, your fellow teammate took the win, but you yourself had a good shot at the race lead, and I saw you try something down the back straightaway. Not sure whether that was something you were just trying to pull off and trying to get by Brady Williman, but do you think there was anything you might have tried to do differently? Maybe anything you maybe thought about trying that could have possibly gotten you the race win today?
I don't know. Maybe if that caution doesn't come out, I don't know. I mainly got behind them on that start because I came in to fix some damage just in case. Because I don't remember what the damage was for, but I know it had to do with my front end on a earlier little incident earlier in the race. I don't remember what lap though. But yeah, I could have never done it any differently. And that backstretch incident, I think I got loose or got tight or something happened that caused me to go down under the apron.
All right, Aaron. Well, nonetheless, a great third place finish for you today and a podium finish for you here at Talladega. Before we let you go, you got any teams or any drivers or pretty much anybody to shout out for making today's effort happen?
I want to shout out, obviously Brady, being my teammate in 501 Racing for giving me this opportunity to join this league and have such a great time. Want to thank y'all for coming out here and broadcasting the race. And want to thank Eli for officiating the race when Aiden has his issues with his internet or power or something happened to him. So yeah, so I'm going to thank you for bringing me up in here. Good race.
Certainly a great race to watch from up here in the booth, and I know it was probably a lot of fun behind the wheel. Aaron, we thank you for taking the time to talk with us here in the KBRN booth, and hopefully we see you from Dover out on pretty much through the rest of the season because you've put on some great shows to watch up here in the booth, and we hope to see you through the next couple of weeks going into the rest of the season.
10-4, thank you.
Aaron Strebel out of the booth. That concludes our interviews for today's action live from Talladega in the LWRC NASCAR Cup Series. What a race to pretty much conclude the super speedways until we get to Daytona, the final regular season race. And Charlie, I know we have a really large stretch of races coming from here on out. We have Dover next week, 2 Dover races, in fact, one right after the other. We have those 2 short track races, and then we come back to Talladega for All-Star Racing. But in terms of the rest of the point season, Charlotte, Kansas, Chicago, those stretch of 1.5 milers along with Dover, is there really something to expect or anything you might want to look out for, especially as we start to cover with the next of the weeks with these drivers here tonight?
Oh yeah, and we've been to these tracks coming up in the LWRC iRacing Cup Series. Like Chicago and Charlotte, we saw that in the bunch of lawn car series on KBRN, and those were really, really good races. I really enjoyed those races. Those were some of the best races and finishes all season in that league. So I'm really looking forward to those races. Those are really good racetracks for these cars to race on, and it's really fun to watch these guys try to adapt to kind of the tire burnout and fall off and really overall just pack racing.
And speaking of the iRacing Bunch and Lawn Care Series, that will be broadcasted right here on the Kenneth Bueno Racing Network. That'll be tonight live on the YouTube channel at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Of course, right here from Talladega, Alabama, we're pretty much traveling nowhere. We're going to stay right here for the Dega doubleheader on the Kenneth Bueno Racing Network. So we thank you all for tuning in to today's stream. It was a lot of fun, and today's race was a lot of fun to watch with all the drivers scooping around and, of course, keeping it clean for the most part. And, of course, a good shout-out to Jaden Lawson for putting this league together and allowing us to cover each and every race and all the action every single race week in and week out. So for everyone from the LWRC NASCAR Cup Series, for Brady Williman for taking his first win in the season, for all of us here at the Kenneth Bueno Racing Network, for Charlie Baier, my name is Kenneth Bueno, saying good afternoon from Talladega. We'll see you in a couple hours' time for the Bunch and Lawn Care Series right at this very spot.